Hi, my name is Nathan, and welcome to the Daily Word. On today's episode of the Daily Word, we'll be in Genesis chapter 17, verse 7. Let's read the scripture together on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you, for the generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you.
The daily word for today is the word everlasting. Let's say that word together. Everlasting. So what does that word everlasting mean? The word everlasting means that it will exist forever. Something that will have no end. So something that lasts forever is everlasting. Now try and think of some things in your life that are everlasting. Something that will never end. It's not easy, is it? Most things you see around you, most things that you know, are not everlasting. I'm looking at a camera right now that is not everlasting. I hope it lasts for a while, but it will not last forever. I'm looking at light bulbs that will not last forever. They are not everlasting. So many things that are surrounding us are not everlasting. They're temporary. They will not last forever. So something that is everlasting will have no end. It will go on forever and ever and ever to infinity. There will be no end to something that is everlasting. So now that we have a basic understanding of what the word everlasting is, let's plug it back into the scripture in Genesis and see how that helps us understand what God is communicating to us. What we see in this verse is God saying that something is going to be everlasting. And what is that thing? That thing is a covenant or a promise. God is saying that I will make a covenant with them. That includes us. That is everlasting. He's saying, I will promise to you that there will be a covenant that will go on forever. An oath or a bond that will go on forever. That God will send us someone that carries the new covenant, the new oath, the new promise, the new agreement that will go on forever. It will have no end. Now that is something unparalleled in this world, in history, something that will be with the living God coming down to us in a promise, carried by a minister of a new covenant, and that will go on forever. That it will surpass death. That death cannot stop that promise being held, but that it will go on and on and on. Now when we look at that promise in the light of the gospel, suddenly you see the answer. Suddenly you see the conclusion or the culmination of that promise. And that minister, that person carrying that new agreement or covenant, is Jesus. He is the king whose kingdom will have no end. He is the one that will be forever and ever, everlasting. He will never go away. Death could not stop Jesus. Death is what he accomplished, sacrificing himself, but then was resurrected on the third day, overcoming death, which kills all things, which finishes all things, bringing them to an end, surpassing that so that something, the promise, our bond, our agreement, our relationship with God can be everlasting. So what we have in Jesus is not just good lessons for today, is not just good pointers of how to be a good person, but in Jesus he's saying that the thing that you want most, peace in your life, joy, strength, confidence, power, all of those things are knit together in Jesus, and he becomes your joy. He becomes your strength. And attaining those things in your life, those will be everlasting. So as much as the things in your life bring you joy, they will not be everlasting. At a certain point you will have to buy the new thing to continue your joy. But what God is saying is he's saying one day, and that day is with Jesus, there will be a minister of a new covenant that will go on and on and on. And that becomes your eternal hope, that it's not for this life that you're living. It's not for these material things you're living. But you have a hope that will go on, and your joy never has to end. Your strength never has to end. Your power and your hope never has to end because of Jesus, because who he is in your life. So with Jesus, that promise of the fruit of Jesus' Spirit in your life will be everlasting. It will have no end. That's great news. Not just good news, that is great news. So that does it for today's episode of the Daily Word. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, if it was helpful, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. But more importantly, try to use this word. What are some things that you would love to be everlasting? What are some things that you can think of that are or are not everlasting? But then go deeper and think about the things that Jesus can bring into your life that are everlasting, and give him a chance. Go to him and see what he has promised for you, that he promises will be that covenant which is everlasting and will have no end. My name is Nathan, and this was your Daily Word. See you next time.